Hey there, Tanya Gustafson here, your nutritionist and fitness coach. Welcome back to another episode of Fit Nutrition Podcast. Just let me know in the chat where you're watching from. If you're, tuning in locally here in my beautiful city, Kelowna, or in BC, our province, or somewhere else in Canada, or even maybe the United States or around the world. I know I get a lot of comments from all over the place, which is really very cool. And because all the topics around health and around things to do with our lifestyle apply to everybody everywhere, right? So glad to have you join with me today. Today we're going to talk about success and how are you measuring it? And there's a lot of ways that people measure success, and I'm just going to dive into quickly about what to do with weight loss. A lot of the times, personally, myself included, measured success in the past only based on weight. We now know, if you've been a Fit Lifer here with me for a while, or even if you just joined, you're probably getting the idea that, hey, that's not the only way we can measure our success with our weight and our health. It certainly does not give you an accurate description of your health. The ideal weight that you might have in your mind does not in any way, shape, or form correlate with your health. It can. You can have that ideal number and be super healthy, or you can have that ideal number and be super unhealthy. Okay, so that's for another podcast. But today I wanted to talk about, are you still measuring your success based on outcomes? So like the example I just gave with the number on the scale, or with, I'll just use a real world example. You're in home, maybe your mom with little kids. I just remember from when mine were little, the success was getting there on time, is to getting them out the door to start, is that your metric? I'm successful if I can do this without them screaming, or I'm successful in business if I can achieve, this income this year, or I'm successful with my partner if we manage to get to date night every single week. There's all of these things that we put these little impositions, I guess, on ourselves, these little must-dos, middle metrics, that we're using to determine our success. But really, is that number on the scale, the number of date nights, the amount of money you're making in your business, how long it takes you to get your kids out the door, whatever it happens to be in that moment, or, in greater things in life, like business, or your health, are those things really an accurate way, or a helpful or a productive way to measure your success? Like, does it actually foster and encourage you to keep going? Right? Because if you have that success metric as an outcome, as a number, as a digit, as a whatever, like a thing, tangible thing that you achieve, that you reach, that would indicate that there's a finish line. So then what happens after that? Because quite certainly I'm thinking that, you get to a place in your health and you're like, oh my gosh, okay, I finally got rid of that arthritis pain. Oh my goodness. But maybe you still get the flu every year, every fall, and you're just feeling like, oh, you get asthma in the spring, you're all wheezy. But you're good because you took care of one of those things. So you're not going to worry about anything else. You're just going to stop. Probably not, right? Same with in business. You might hit that monthly, I'm finally making this amount of money per month, or my business has finally got this many clients, or, I finally have this many employees, or whatever it happens to be. Do you stop? You're like, okay, I'm good right there. I don't want to make any more. I don't want to, expand any bigger. I don't want to help any more people. Probably not, yet again, right? But that's where we tend to measure our success, is not at what we do along the way, but what the outcome is at the end. And then, of course, that makes an end. Whereas it should always be an ongoing process that doesn't end until we're finished on this planet. So think about these things that you would do along the way, and that's going to help you be a better metric for success, because you can check those off as continual things. So, for example, I just started filling this out because today's, I'm recording this on Monday, and I have a weekly planner. So I've written down the things that I want to accomplish this week. And then I started filling them in, the most important things these top 3 that I want to get done today, and then, and so on and so forth, right? And I'll fill those in as I go along. So as opposed to just putting, the end of that whole big list, I have to get XYZ done. I have ongoing steps that I can keep going to get me through my week. Okay. So things with your health, you're going to be looking at those 1% items, right? And if you are doing those 1% items, so maybe water's not your thing, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't seem to the water is so hard for me to remember. Okay, number 1, recommend, I'm just gonna sidetrack here because that's what we do here. Get yourself a water bottle that you love. I love the pop tops. I love the stainless steel, and keeps it, the temperature that you like it. And I know that it's not the BPA plastic and all of that. And I love the pop tops because I like to drink out of it. Some people like the straw because they like to slurp it, or some people like to squeeze it. Okay, get the water bottle that you like to use, that you love to use, and fill that up. Take it with you. Make sure, and then concentrate every time you eat something, or every time you're, going out in the heat, or every time you're heading out in the car. Just make it a little habit to have a sip, have another drink, have another drink. And so that's your 1%. And as you keep going, you're eventually going to get to where you're supposed to be with the amount of water you're having. So, and that's how you're going to measure your success with that part of your health. Now, of course, that's not going to, it's like, oh, I got there. Oh, but I'm going to keep working on it because I know that just because I got to that today, oh, now I'm going to stop and not worry about it. No, it's an ongoing thing, right? So you're measuring your success by the things you continually do and how well you can continually do those things, which goes to show that you're trying and you're showing up for yourself. Now, that's a big thing. And when we make promises to ourselves and don't keep them, regardless of how big or small they are, even if it's just that I'm going to drink 1 more water bottle today than I did yesterday, or even just 1 more glass. I'm going to drink 1 more glass of water than I did yesterday. And then you're like, oh, I didn't do it. Oh, you know what? Whatever. I'm just going to go to bed. I'll start tomorrow. And you don't actually do it. And you keep doing that. Pretty soon you start not doing the other things that you were doing, because your brain is getting accustomed to being able to slack off, and that's okay. It becomes an acceptable thing to do. And we know that our thoughts and our beliefs dictate our actions, which then dictate our results. So if your brain starts believing that, hey, it's okay to bail, it's okay, I don't have to do this all the time. Oh, hey, yeah, I'll just do that when I have time. Oh, yeah, I didn't get time, so it's all right. I don't really need to do that anymore right now. It's okay. I'll come back to it later. You see how that slides? That thought process, that self-talk just kind of went spiraling downhill till it started out as, oh, shoot, I forgot to do that once. It went all the way down to, oh, I don't have to do that anymore. Yeah, I can come back to it another time in my life. Doesn't matter. It very quickly went from, a small little glitch in the radar to absolutely, oh my gosh, you're totally not doing this anymore. Why would you ever think that that's, a way to go? And if you talk to somebody, if somebody asked you that, you would never say, oh yeah, no, that's where I want to go. I'm going all the way downhill. That's totally acceptable. I'm not going to do that anymore. You'd never actually say that, right? You just wouldn't, because you know that that's not where your goals were. That's not where you wanted to go with your health, or, apply it to whatever subject you're thinking is, what you're focusing on at this moment. But that's not where you would want to go. So back that up. When something doesn't go right, now focus on that and say, okay, now I'm going to try and get that done today still. Even if you've only got an hour left in the day, if it's something you physically can do, like, I mean, if it was something that some little promise that you made yourself, I was going to pick up something at the store, and now the store is closed. All right, you can't, but you can make it a priority to do the next day as soon as possible, first thing in the day when the store opens, so that you can get that out of the way. And that brings me to my next point. Making those promises to yourself and keeping them as early in the day as possible sets you up and sets your brain up, and it elevates you. It sets you up for success, because now you've made a promise, you've endeavored to keep it, you've kept it, and your day is just barely started. So you're already on a positive roll about what else can I do? Where else can I succeed? Where else can I go? As opposed to, oh shoot, I woke up, I'm hitting the ground running, I don't have any time to do any of this. I'm scrambling, I'm getting done what I need to get done. I'm at work, I'm picking up my kids, I'm making dinner, whatever. I'm sure I'll have time tonight. I can do that later. And all of a sudden you're just like super exhausted. You're getting ready for bed. You're brushing your teeth and you went, oh, right. I was going to go meet so-and-so for that workout today. Dang. Oops. Or yeah, I was gonna pick up that thing for my neighbor. Shoot. It doesn't matter what it is. Those are very, pretty small things in the realm of, the big bad world out here that we live in, right? But they do compound and they are important. And when those little things start adding up, small things can become big things quite quickly. Just like I always say with your health, and anyone that's coached with me personally, or if you heard, other podcasts, you'll know that I always say those small things consistently over time will equal huge results. And we know this to be true. And here's a great visual for you. I love this visual. If you have ever, seen an older house or seen seen somebody build a deck or something, and they're trying to line up that really long 2x4, they're going to make a deck or they're going to make something, and they get it, just about square at one end. They stand back, yeah, that looks pretty good. And they don't actually line it up perfectly. They don't check it. They just kind of eyeball it and goes, yeah, that looks great. They nail it in, they get started, they step back to take a look and go, oh yeah. Because it's so long, you don't notice it at the very beginning. But when you stand back and take a look, you can see just how far out you are. You're like, yeah, that's not going to be acceptable, right? Like just like old houses, you walk in from the door, it looks okay. Floor looks great. You start walking on it, and you're like, oh, it's a little tippy here, right? Ever done that? Anybody be in an old house and it kind of goes like that? You put a marble on the floor and it rolls. It didn't look like that from the door because you're like stand right on top of it. But as soon as you get back and you can stand back and look at the whole floor, you can kind of see, oh, there it goes, or you can see it visually with the marble. Those small things consistently over time, over a long space, right? Over time, equal a huge result. And so when we stick to our guns, when we show up for ourselves, and when we keep those promises, no matter how big or how small, you start the day off right, which then leads you to a better week, which leads you to a better month, which leads you to a better year. And each one of those things elevates you and lifts you up to be a better person. Because now when you're keeping those promises to yourself, you have more confidence. You feel more out there. You're more willing to take risks. You're a happier person because you're satisfied. Your focus and clarity is better because you're not perseverating and thinking on, oh, dang, what are those things I was supposed to do? Oh, I totally forgot about that. Oh, and then you worry about it, right? Because you made a promise and you didn't do it. So now that's coming back to haunt you, which makes it very difficult to be productive in any other area when those thoughts keep coming back. So it's a whole big domino effect. There's a whole lot of ramifications around that, but there's definitely a lot to do with our mental health and how productive we are going to be, which then equals how successful you're going to be. So coming back around full circle, not thinking of your success based on that outcome over here. Because when you take care of those small things, remember the 2x4, you take care of those small things, line it up, make sure it's, lined up all the way along all the time. It takes care of itself. You stand back and take a look and it's in perfect alignment, right? The small things, same with the floor underneath. If that contractor had lined up every board and checked the level as he was progressing along the floor, every so often along the way, those small checks, right? Those small things consistently over the build, it would take care of itself. So that's the same thing with you. So for example, I'll give you a little example of my day. Okay. So my day, I wake up anywhere between 4:45 and 5:15 every day, not with an alarm. I don't set an alarm. And so when I get up right away, I, get up, I have my workout gear laid out. I go into the bathroom, I brush my teeth, I wash my face, I get dressed and ready. I do a little melting with a melty ball, hand and foot. I do that in the morning while I'm getting ready. And then I go out to the other room and I take my little doggy out to the bathroom and I make my shake. And I sit down with the blanket where it's comfortable, put the puppy back. She sits with me, we snuggle. And I get out my Bible and my devotionals and I have my shake and I sit there. It's my quiet time. Nobody else is awake. It's just me. I love it that way. That's my time. And it's like non-negotiable. I do that wherever I am. And if I'm packing light when I go, I have a really large, heavy Bible. Then I will mark down the verses that I wanted to do, and I will, or I'll take a screenshot, or I'll mark it down, and then I can use my Bible app. But I still do that wherever I go. And I take that time in the morning. I still get up before everybody else. I still do that so that I can set that intention for the day. And those things, that morning time is very important. And I commit and promise to myself to do the morning time. And I can tell you on those odd occasions when it hasn't been able to happen. So for example, traveling, if I have to be at the airport at the same time that I'm normally sitting there doing my prayers and devotions, it then has to get moved to a different time. And I tell you, boy, it unsettles my day. And it makes me think all as I'm going along. I'm like, I don't know exactly how. Hopefully everything's on time. Okay, I'm going to set aside some time here, but hopefully the planes are on time, and hopefully I can get the Uber, and all of those kinds of things come to my mind. So it does get me going, right? And it does make me think, okay, what if I can't get it done? And then there's all those thoughts coming in and I'm not as productive. If I were trying to sit down and do some work, and I have tried to do some work on the plane, and when the things come in my head like that, it's really hard to focus and concentrate. So so sometimes I'll even get up super early or try and get to the airport extra early so I can go find a quiet corner and just do that and get back into my rhythm, because I've promised myself that that's what I'm going to do. The next thing I do after that is I promise myself that I am going to the gym Monday to Friday. I always go. Sometimes I can go on Saturdays. I just, that's kind of my flex day. And so Monday to Friday, I am there all the time without fail. I mean, unless the gym is closed and then I go for a big power walk or something, I still do something, or I'll do some stretching or some yoga at home, or I'll do a melt routine or something like that. But again, it's a promise I've made to myself to continue on. So, for my health, for my strength, for my flexibility. And again, it's clarity for my mind, because I've done that promise. I've kept that promise, or I made that promise. I kept that promise. And so now my mind is more refreshed and my day goes much better. So, and then I come home and I take my dog for a walk and I get started for my day. So there's those three things that I do in the morning all the time, regular, all the time. And it's about keeping those promises to yourself. So not looking at the outcome as your metric of success, your measure of success, but thinking about those things you are promising yourself along the way, keeping those promises so that they can build on each other, so that the outcomes will take care of themselves. So I hope that helped you guys today. Drop your comments below if you have some feedback on this, or if you have a story you want to share on this. I'd love to hear that. And we'll see you again next week right here in the group on Fit Nutrition Podcast. Tanya saying bye-bye. Have a great day.